For Moon Onyx Starr.
Moon in the house.
Beautiful name.
I'm a bit of a rebel, but a rebel with a cause. My mission is to help people rewrite the narrative around aging, to turn that fear of aging into excitement. I've never met two women like my mom and my nanny G who have sacrificed that much.
Got me tearing up. You were born here,
Yeah.
age of 1, you moved to the US,
What propelled
you to move to New Zealand at 15? And at 24, you moved to India for about 6 years.
I decide I've got that conviction. I've got a good why. So organized the first ever 30 under 30 for Hindustan Times.
Wow.
And still go out and dance and have the best time ever and be sober AF. Know what you're consuming. It's okay if you want to consume it after you've seen, but let's not live in ignorance.
Navigating single life in your 40s.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Skip the part that I got married and divorced in India.
No, did you? Hello everyone, welcome back to Been There Done Chat. I'm Garima Oja and my podcast is all about life experiences, self-improvement and thought-provoking discussions. Today I have got the ever so beautiful Moon Onyx Starr.
Woo woo! Moon in the house.
Moon Onyx Starr, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you.
Beautiful name.
Thank you so much. I actually changed my name.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit of a rebel, but a rebel with a cause,
Yeah.
I'd like to think.
Love that.
I just wanted a name that was going to encompass who I am. And I wanted my name to be one of a kind. I didn't want anyone else to have this name. So I created a name for myself, which was just going to sum up my essence, my spirit, my energy. And so a number of years ago, after, building up the courage to do so, I changed my name.
Beautiful.
Woo!
How did you come up with each of the parts out of interest?
It's interesting because even though my name is Moon, I'm a child of the sun. I'm very much energized by the sun. But I do love the magic of the moon. I love the name Moon. I, just thought it was very unique. Onyx is a crystal for protection.
Yeah.
And then Starr, it's Starr with a double R.
Slay.
Gotta add a little finesse to the star. And I just like the way it sounded all together as well. Moon Onyx Starr.
Yeah. It's a beautiful name. I remember when I first
you.
met you, I just thought, such a gorgeous name.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And also this fit. I want to do a little fit check, please.
Yes.
So what have we got going on here?
Okay. So, I've got my Stella McCartney vegan leather jumpsuit. Okay. She's famous for her jumpsuit. She does very cool urban fits for jumpsuits. So this is vegan leather. A bit of a zip. I like to, zip it down a bit, a bit of sexiness, a bit of sassiness.
Love that.
I've got my vegan leather Stella McCartney platforms, which are, again, my signature style. You'll rarely, if I'm dressed up, you'll rarely see me without a pair of Stellas. I've got them in every color and pattern. I've got a whole shoe, what is it called?
Collection?
Whole
wardrobe.
shoe wardrobe,
Yes.
or just of these shoes. And then what else do I have on? I've got my blingity bling.
Let's talk through the jewelry and
So
the
yeah,
rings.
you'll never find me without my bling as well. Earrings, I've got quite an array. Most of these smaller piercings are from Maria Tosh, a luxury piercing designer jewelry brand based in Liberty and Harrods. And she's from New York originally. She just makes the best stuff. And then this is an ear cuff, which is from Rosie Fortescue Jewellery.
It's gorgeous.
Which is super cool. And then I've got another ear cuff here, which is, I just actually picked this up the other day when I was recording for another podcast in East London, near Fashion Street.
Nice.
And I found this cute little jewelry boutique. So I picked that one up. And then my rings are all a bit of a story as well. This one is very interesting. So this is a bespoke black diamond ring.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm mentioning this one is because I actually dated somebody for a period of time and I proposed to him. So that's another way that I've rebelled against the social norms. So I proposed to him. We're no longer together, but it's still a beautiful ring, and he's still one of my best friends, closest friends now, and family. So when I proposed to him, I got him a ring. I actually had a black onyx, and
I was going to say, is that an onyx?
No, this is a black diamond.
Right.
But I had proposed to him with a black onyx ring.
Wow.
And and I had read him a poetry, which was the proposal. And, we had a lovely lunch in London on a beautiful summer sunny day. Oh. That's how I had proposed. And he was gobsmacked. He's like, did this just happen? Like, what the hell? And he did say yes. So we were engaged for a period of time, but, it didn't work out. And we're best friends now. And then I got this ring from Bali, few other rings. And then I'm going to mention this one as well, because this is from my friend's brand. It's a Parisian brand. And it's a sustainable, eco-friendly jewelry brand. So it's all about like recycled gold and lab-grown diamonds. So this one is from Veins, Paris. Amazing. So yeah, that's a bit.
I'll put that in the description. I'll make sure to put that in. That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a bit of you guys have to check out Veins, Paris, because
gorgeous.
Just the most amazing jewelry.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, for me, really quickly, mine is a Princess Polly white shirts. Ralph Lauren jumper. I got it from Vinted though. This is a monkey flared trouser situation, and then my shoes are Charles and Keith.
Cute, love it.
And then I've got my Olivia Burton watch, just a little gold jewelry, that kind of
love
thing.
it.
Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Absolutely. So I am a motivational speaker, self-empowerment expert. My niche that I have chosen within self-empowerment is age empowerment. My mission is to help people rewrite the narrative around aging, to reclaim their power. It's to turn that fear of aging into excitement. So it's all about really just, stepping back into your power. It's about undoing this social conditioning and all the pressures and influences of media and social media. It's about cutting out all of that noise and coming back to your true authentic self and living life on your own terms, being your most empowered self at any age.
Love that.
So that's a gist of what my kind of area of specialization is. And I do a lot of talks. Maybe an event organizer might book me to do a talk, or I work with a lot of brands. So Stella McCartney is one of them that I mentioned. I do talks for, her team, or like Snapchat, I've done stuff for them. Soho House, I do quite regular talks for. I'll be doing talks for other members clubs next year as well. Then I've worked with Sweaty Betty, with Oto Wellbeing, Face Gym, King's College. I did a talk on age empowerment for students as well. Beautiful. So, hitting up the universities, because the fear of aging does not discriminate. Everybody has this fear within us because, like I said, we've been conditioned to fear it. So turning fear into excitement, it's a big mission, but that is my mission. And I intend to do it on a global scale.
Love that.
So that's that. And then I also do one-to-one mentoring. So if anybody needs guidance or personalized bespoke support, I provide that. So one of my programs is finding your purpose and turning it into a personal brand. So that's what I have done. Or it could be building more confidence. It could be, career support. It could be just, working on yourself and empowering yourself in other ways, self-love, manifesting, so many different areas. So I provide support for that. And I have a personal growth membership, which is an online community. And month after month, I provide guidance for people. So let's say you sign up, it's a subscription service, you become a member, and then you join a private community. You get 2 virtual masterclasses every month. You get motivational messages, gratitude prompts, things like that. And this membership has been so transformational for people because it keeps you accountable and on the regular. And obviously the one-to-one mentoring is like very transformational because it's all personalized.
Wow, I love that. I do want to touch on some of the things later that you've mentioned already, but I think when it comes to how you got to where you are now, I think the best place to start is always from early life. So from what I know of you, your parents immigrated to the UK in the 70s and you and your sister were born here.
Yeah.
And then I think at the age of 1, you moved to the US, right?
Yes.
And then after that?
Yeah, so my dad got a job in New York, so we moved to the suburbs of New Jersey. I partly grew up there, and then I also, after my parents split up, my dad moved to New Zealand because he has his his siblings there, their children, so he had a family base there. So he moved there, and then after some years, my sister moved to New Zealand and then I moved to New Zealand. So I must have been, I was about 14 going on 15 when I moved to New Zealand. And then from there, I moved to India and then from India back here.
Yeah.
Back where it all began.
Beautiful. I mean, so you were in the US for a good 14, 15 years then before your dad moved away? Well, up until
I was in the US for around 14 years or so. So the foundational years.
Yeah, and that was in the 80s and 90s. Were there any sort of, what was it like growing up as a Indian Punjabi-Sikh in the US during that period of time? Did you have any struggles or what was it like?
So, I mean, that's a good question because I feel like a lot of kids that come from, South Asia and are children of immigrants, we definitely face our own unique set of challenges. And for me, being, an Indian kid, I feel like growing up in the States at that time, we had it really tough. Like for some reason, it was always like the Asian kids, Chinese or Indian that were a bit like picked on and bullied. It's like we weren't, at that time, those were not the cool ethnicities. You've got some ethnic groups that are like cooler, and we were definitely not in that category. Even though I was always like, I was in the cool kid group and stuff, but I had friends that were, from all. I was someone that was friends with everybody.
I was the same.
Like all different kinds of groups and people. But I was also like, also part of the cool kids club, you could say as well. And still I faced bullying, but that started from a very early age. And it definitely really impacted me and made me very, very insecure about being Indian. Yeah. I developed a complex where I then started rejecting my ethnicity and not really wanting to admit that I am Indian. So it took me quite a few years to overcome that complex that I had. And it's only when I, grew up further and I was kind of later teenage years that I began to really appreciate my culture and really embrace it.
Yeah. I remember when we had an event a couple of months ago, I think it was the South Asian Heritage Month event, and we were talking about this. And you had mentioned that, especially with rejecting your ethnicity and that kind of thing, I completely relate. Like there was a time where I would say I was half white, half Indian, just to sound a little bit more cool.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I had said.
You said the same thing.
Yeah, so that's exactly... That's funny that you have the same story. I'm not as, because I felt so ashamed about that for so many years. But because now it's like I'm such a proud Indian woman. I love my heritage. I love being from a Punjabi background. I just love, that our larger than life kind of culture and we're just awesome. We're awesome. And I'm very proud, but it took me a while. And I, like you, I would lie about my ethnicity. And because my dad at that point was living in New Zealand and it was just my mom. So the kids a lot of the kids I don't think really remembered like who my dad was or what he looked like or whatever. So I was able to say that
you could get away with it.
I could get away with that lie. It makes me feel better that I'm not the only one that did that. I'm sure there's loads of other people who face something similar. But and then, for years I was so ashamed of the fact that I had lied about my ethnicity. And then when I moved to New Zealand, actually, then it was just my dad. So people didn't know what my mom looked like.
Right.
And then I would again say that my mom is white.
So even in New Zealand
In New Zealand,
right.
this lie carried on because of the complex that I developed, like being bullied for being Indian and made fun of.
Yeah.
I ended up carrying that over to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after some time, I started to embrace my culture, but it was too late. Like I had already created this lie and it was so hard to...
Oh, yeah, because you can't... It had been years, right?
It was so hard to then be like...
By the way, guys, I'm actually fully
By
Indian.
the way. Yeah. So, but I'm sure people, you know, in time they would have figured it out.
Yeah.
So.
No. Yeah, honestly, I was ashamed as well. But I think over time you just learn to embrace it more. I think it is the sort of, you know, when, you know, you watch TV shows or whatever, the Indian kid is always seen as the loser or the nerd or the weirdo.
The nerd,
right?
yeah.
So I think maybe that was instilled within us from a really early age. But...
yeah, and that's why kids would, it's because whatever we see on TV, right, whatever is cool in society's eyes, or even what their parents feed them as well. So it comes from that too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I think, like if I were to get a compliment or, I'm sorry, not a compliment, if somebody would kind of not guess the correct ethnicity, if they would say somewhere else, I would think that's a compliment.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
No.
But yeah, I think over time we've learned to embrace our Indian side. But yeah, so you were in the US for about 15 years. What was your childhood like?
It was tumultuous because, you know, my parents had quite a rocky marriage. It was an arranged marriage. You know, in India, sometimes you get married when you're so young and you don't really know better, like you don't know how to navigate these relationships. So my mom was 19. I think my dad was 25 or so when they got married. And my mom actually left university to get married. And then they moved to, my dad was already living in London. And then my mom came over after they got married. So it was quite tumultuous. To say the least.
Yeah. Do you want to go into detail if you're comfortable?
I mean, it was just basically like there was a lot of fighting. There was a lot of, just a lot of fighting and chaos. So it was not a stable home environment for me to be in.
How did that affect you growing up then? Or your outlook on marriage and life? Maybe? Yeah,
it was definitely the first... Your parents' relationship is the first relationship that you see. So whatever you're exposed to at home within your parents' dynamic, that's normal for you. So it really did negatively impact my relationships with men growing up and going forward. And I had to really work hard to break that cycle because it is something that can keep going on and on and on unless you really become self-aware and do the work to break that cycle so you can heal and then you can choose better for yourself because you know what you've done work, you know what you deserve and you just choose more wisely in the future.
Yeah. I think, I mean, first of all, what propelled you to move to New Zealand at 15?
Yeah, so I found it was quite tough living with my mom and, you know, it was, so my sister had already moved to New Zealand at this point.
She's older than you, right?
2.5 years older than me. And it was quite stressful to live, you know, my mother was very much struggling at that point. She was struggling to raise two rebellious teenage daughters. She had to financially support us. It was a very, very, very stressful situation to see your mother struggling financially, struggling to work so hard, manual labor type of jobs, because she, like I said, left uni. So she didn't even have her qualification to then get a job. She worked in a factory. She worked, 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week to put food on the table for my sister and I, to clothe us, to make sure that we didn't miss out on a single thing in life. She made sure that we did every single dance class, if it's music, if it's acting, diving, swimming, like we were doing everything. She just did whatever she could. Like if there's the definition of a superhero, it's my mom.
Bless her.
Like honestly, I could never repay my mom for what she's done for my sister and I. Like it's thanks to her that we are who we are today. Yeah. And my Naniji, which is maternal grandmother, for those who don't know, that's the title we use for maternal grandmother. So my Naniji came from India and lived with us to help my mom financially. So she would work in people's houses in the neighborhood nearby, just helping them out at home, being a nanny, whatever she needed to do. And whatever she was earning, kept saving it. And then eventually she could help my mom buy a car. So that car then, my mom would use to get to work, to drop us here, drop us there, for this class, for that class, art classes, like everything. We did everything growing up, thanks to my mother. So I've never met two women like my mom and my Naniji who have sacrificed that much for their children.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. And Naniji lived with us for 5 years.
Wow.
She left her life. She left her husband, Nanaji, maternal grandfather, left Nanaji. She was a housewife looking after him. He was left alone then. She left everything to come and help my mother, because otherwise we wouldn't have, I don't know how we would have survived, So it's just so heartwarming to know that mother, like the unconditional love that mothers have. Yeah. It's just, there's nothing like it in the world. Nothing like it.
No. Oh, you got me tearing up.
I'm tearing up too, but it's just because it's like, it just moves me with how, wow, like my mother, she really deserves, she's a queen. Yeah. And so is Naniji. Yeah. Like they're both queens and they deserve to be celebrated and to be just worshipped for what they've done and who they are and their hearts.
Them. Yeah. They seem incredible, honestly. Like there's just no words to describe a mother's love. No. And Naniji's love. I can't.
Yes.
It's just like otherworldly.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, what propelled you to move to New Zealand at 15?
Yeah. So things were very, it was difficult because my mother was raising rebellious teenagers. In America, people start experimenting with so many things at such a young age. So like from preteen to early teenage years, you start like experimenting with smoking, maybe pot, drinking, so alcohol. You want to hang out with boys, all of that. So we're like these rebellious kids. Well, just normal teenagers, actually. Yeah. But just being teens raised in the West. And so that was a lot for her to deal with. Culture shock for sure. She's someone who's never had a sip of alcohol before, never smoked a cigarette.
Same with my mum.
Oh,
she's
wow.
So innocent. She's never had a sip of anything.
Yeah.
So innocent, yeah.
Been born vegetarian, born into a very spiritual family, raised, on a farm in India, and then went to an all-girls boarding school. So very sheltered. Yeah. And then here she's got these two girls that are like going wild, and her struggling so much. We were in survival mode, right? So just that struggle, I think I just was so drained to just be constantly struggling all the time, and like financial struggles and, just emotionally, I just felt very drained. And I felt like at that point, my dad was a bit more settled in New Zealand. So I felt like maybe, it might just be a good fresh start for me to go to New Zealand. I also thought it's a good opportunity to see another country, experience another. I'm quite adventurous like that. I do like to just kind of take off and experience different things. So part of me was like, thought it would be an adventure as well. So it was a bit of this being tired of the struggle, and being open to new experiences and adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you mentioned briefly before that you, after New Zealand at 24, you moved to India for about 6 years. So what inspired that? Because that's quite again, another rebellious thing to do, or not with the norm. It's quite, unique.
Yeah, exactly. So I moved to New Zealand. I was almost 15, I believe. I did the rest of my high school there, my undergrad, and then I did my higher studies in journalism because I always loved writing growing up. So, when you think about what career can you have as a writer, then, journalism is kind of like one of the few options. So I was just completing my journalism studies, and Dada Dadi, so that's the paternal grandparents, were staying with us in Wellington in New Zealand, where my dad lives. And so I was finishing my journalism studies, and I was like saying to my grandparents, what do you think about me potentially moving to India to explore a career in journalism? Again, that's that adventurous side of me that just wants to like try different things. Yeah. And I also thought like, I'm not sure if I would enjoy a career in journalism in New Zealand. I thought India is like, bigger. There's a lot more going on. It's so diverse. There's so much culture and color and everything. And I had traveled to India. My grandparents, Dada Dadi, paternal grandparents, took us on a tour of India when I was 20. Me and all of my cousins who live in New Zealand on my dad's side, they took all of us on a tour of India.
Wow.
So we got to really experience our culture and roots. And that's when I really fell in love with India. I'm like, this is like the most intoxicating place ever. Like, wow, this place is magical. It's colorful. It's interesting. Everywhere you look, like, it's just fascinating. And so I was so intrigued, and I just wanted to know more about my culture and experience more. So then I was like, what do you think about me exploring a career in journalism in India? And they're like, absolutely. You can come and live with us.
Wow.
Yeah, you can come and live with us, and you can, just they live in Chandigarh. So that's in North India and Punjab. Where we're from originally, and from Punjab. So I was like, yeah, like, let me do it. So again, another decision I made kind of overnight, and then just ran with it. And then I went to India. And after about a week or so, it was straight into work, because my grandfather, Dadaji, he's from the Air Force, so very kind of disciplinarian background, and you got to work really hard and all of that. So he immediately was like, okay, this is not a holiday. This is not a chutti. It's not a time to chill. Like, this is like, you need to start looking for a job. But I didn't have a work visa, being like a Western, being a citizen of UK, US and New Zealand. Yeah. I didn't have Indian citizenship because I had not grown up there. And so I didn't have the right papers to work there. So, but Dadaji didn't care. So I worked for free for publications like the Tribune and Indian Express, like contributing articles for them, just until like my work papers came through. And that was like 6 months later. So I kept doing like work for free for 6 months. I was getting around on cycle rickshaw, auto rickshaws. My cousins would give me lifts on their scooters to get to interview people, like take me places. Yeah. So that was quite an adventure, because Dada Dadi are, they've lived through the war. They're very much about, and Dadaji fought in the Second World War.
Wow.
So they're very much like about, saving and, not spending on drivers and this and that. They're just
very Indian values, basically.
Yeah, from a different era,
Yeah.
basically. So, because then you do have people who are very lavish, who live very lavishly as well. But I guess that would be more from our parents' generation.
Yes,
The
true,
grandparents' generation, like I said, they've lived through the war. So they've experienced what it's like to have rations,
Yeah.
all of that. And it's a different way of thinking. So yeah, it was very much just you work, you earn, all of that, which is great because it instilled excellent work ethic in me.
That. I can see it from you as well. It shines through today.
Yeah,
it's
literally. So that was thanks to my dada dadi. I really and it was so special to live with them for those years as well, because what an opportunity to live with your grandparents who are full of wisdom.
Yeah.
And it's not easy as well, because I wanted to also go out and party, and then I'm living with my strict grandparents.
Because you were in your 20s at that point,
yeah,
right?
and they're also very scared, especially Dadaji, that something's going to happen to me. I remember Dadaji used to say, like, oh no, girls should not go out at night to these nightclubs because these Punjabi boys, they get drunk and they come with swords and then they take the girl.
Oh my God.
I'm like, does that really happen? He's like,
to scare you.
No, he's like, I've read this in the papers. No, he really has read that before.
What? Okay,
so
wow.
These things really
That's crazy.
have happened, but I don't know when they happen.
Oh,
but
God.
And he's like, they come with guns and they'll take the girl. So they were so afraid that if I go out at night, like something's going to happen to me. I'm going to get taken.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, they were very strict as well. And, but it was a beautiful, special experience. Also tricky, from that one generation to another and trying to like coexist in a way where you can both kind of like live, right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
live how you want to live. But yeah, it was awesome, and I wouldn't change anything I wouldn't change it for the world. It was special, really special. So I got to live with Naniji in America. Then I got to live with Dada Dadi in Chandigarh. So that was really special. And then after I got my papers, I ended up going for a job interview for India Today, which is one of like the major magazines, national magazines. And Dadiji escorted me on the Shatabdi train from Chandigarh to Delhi for the job interview because, they didn't want me to go alone. So they escorted me. I think I must have still been around 24 or 25. Yeah. And then I went to Delhi for the interview. It was like a few hours. She waited for me in the reception area. I got the job, and then I started working for India Today in Chandigarh. And then I was headhunted for Hindustan Times, which is another national daily paper. And I ended up, so I was a features writer. So that's for the magazine section. And I eventually became the features editor for the northern region of India. So that was an awesome role. So I had a team of like writers and, editors, photographers, and I was kind of in charge of conceptualizing and curating the magazine section for Hindustan Times North. And it was such a great career. I got to travel. I got to experience so many different things, like stay at beautiful spa and resorts in the Himalayan mountains and like near Shimla. Or then I got to go to Dashera to experience like some cultural festivals and the Shera festival in, where was it? Dharamshala. It was in Dharamshala. I got to go there, like just different places. I got to visit some amazing gurdwaras, which is, for those who don't know, like the Sikh temple. As well. And just I wrote a lot about like culture, travel, lifestyle, entrepreneurship, success stories, like rags to riches. celebrity, different things like that. And then I also organized the first ever 30 under 30 for Hindustan Times.
Wow.
And we had a panel talk. We had a whole event around it. So I was in charge of that entire project, and I hosted that event as well, the 30 under 30. I moderated the panel talk. On the panel, we had an awesome lineup. We had Gul Panag, who's a famous Punjabi actress. We had Kunal Kapoor, a Bollywood actor. We had Kanika Sharma, I think her name is. She's an established author. I had Vanya Mishra, who was Miss India at the time, and Rabi Shergill, who's Rabi Shergill, who people know is like a very famous singer as well. So we had this whole panel. So I was the one who would like outreach, get them to agree. So I curated the panel. So it's funny that was when I think I was like almost 30 or around the age of 30. And then now at 40, I'm 41 now, but at 40, early 40s, I've been doing panel talks again. So it's kind of like it's interesting. I started out doing panel talks when I was a journalist, and now I also host panel talks now. And some of the ones that I do now are it's to celebrate the South Asian community. So I did one for, as you mentioned earlier, South Asian Heritage Month. That
was a beautiful event. I loved that.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you could be there. That's how we met, actually.
That's how we met. We first met there, yeah.
And then I did one for Diwali as well. So another panel talk for Diwali. And again, featuring two really awesome panels of very accomplished, very inspiring individuals, and then just coming together to share their journeys and unite. Really special. So both of those I've hosted at Soho House.
Yeah. So it's been
and you were at both.
Yeah, they were both incredible, honestly. It's like you were just born to host and organize. It's just the people that you invite on the panel always complement each other so well, and the questions that you ask go so in depth, and you can really get so much from each guest, which is what I love about your talks.
Thank you.
And obviously you bring your energy as well, which is just incredible. Anyway.
Thank you so much. No, I really think it's so important for me to choose people who I feel like are like-minded, people who have substance, who have depth, and that's what kind of brings that synergy together.
Yeah. 100%. I've noticed that at all of your events, honestly. But quickly, just to kind of finish talking about your Indian, living in India experience. In those 6 years, what did you learn about yourself? What was the most significant thing that you learned about yourself?
I would say probably that, I would say that I am just highly adaptable. Like, I can adapt to any place, culture, and it does really come to mindset. It's like New Zealand, I didn't feel like I really fit in. I didn't feel like that was my place culturally. It was not a match. I really felt like I vibed more with the American culture, and New Zealand, I felt like kind of encouraged me to go into a shell a bit, because people are a bit more reserved and conservative. I couldn't shine my brightest because I would stand out too much, So it was, but at the same time, I still made the most of that. And I would always just try to celebrate the good. So for example, my dad sent me to an all-girls private school because he's like, this teenage girl has just come from America. She's probably just been buck wild, and she needs to go to an all-girls school. She needs to be tamed. Yeah. So he put me in this school, and it was like an Anglican religious school, uniform. So complete contrast to where I just come from. Yeah. But I still tried to focus in on the good. So that school didn't have a dance team, and I grew up as a dancer. So I actually introduced the first dance team to that school, and I have found a dance teacher to come and be our teacher. And then we used to perform and compete as well.
Beautiful.
And then I joined my university dance team. And, it's just all about how can you make the best of any situation? How can you just focus on the positive and celebrate that, because whatever we focus on expands. So even moving to India, it's a very, again, conservative. Again, I felt like I went in my shell a bit, but I just made the most of it. I just enjoyed every moment and really celebrated the positives of it rather than dwelling on things that were negative or were, were maybe different from what I was used to. So even, just every aspect, I would always focus on the positive. And that's really, so definitely just being adaptable and having that mindset where like a positive, optimistic mindset. Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, I guess you've mentioned as well with your name and, from the talks that I've been to with you as well, you're a very spiritual person. And what are your big three? We talked about this on the journey here, but let us know.
Yeah. So my big three, so Sun in Taurus, and I love being a Taurus, love the luxuries, love the comforts, very practical, very grounded, down to earth, like my stability. But then having Sagittarius as my rising really allows me to be a little bit more flexible. I guess that's where the adaptable nature comes into play.
And your adventurous side and going for things.
Being adventurous, being spontaneous, being driven. So all of that, I think the Sagittarius balances out the really stable, grounded Taurus. And then I have my moon in Cancer, which makes me highly emotionally in tune and intuitive. So I like that balance.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm an Aquarius sun, Pisces moon, and Gemini rising.
Love that as well.
So it's quite like air and water is my big three. Yeah. Lovely. I mean, if you look on your Instagram, it's just positivity, wisdom, knowledge, empowerment. That's the words that come to mind when I see your Instagram.
Thank you.
Honestly, it's just, if you ever feel low, just go to Moon's Instagram and you will pick yourself back up just by reading something or hearing something that you've said. It's absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much.
But what does spirituality mean to you, and how has it shaped you into the person that you are today?
Oh, I love that question, because spirituality is everything to me. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, as the saying goes, and that's very, very true in my eyes and my mind. I was raised in a household where my mom's side of the family are Radha-Swami.
Okay.
And this is for those who don't know, it's like a spiritual path which originates in Punjab in India. And it's literally just taking all of the teachings of all of the spiritual leaders, gurus, saints, and it's just showing that it's all the same message. It's all the same oneness, and it's beautiful. So my mom is from this background, and my dad, and also like Sikh, like born Sikh, but they are Radha-Swami, right? And then my paternal grandparents are Sikh. Both of my grandfathers, they both have passed away now, but they both wore turban as well, which is a sign of Sikh faith. And then my dada-dadi, paternal grandparents, are Sikh, like practicing Sikhs. And they would go to the Gurdwara a lot, all of that. My dad is a bit more like atheist. Like, I don't think he really, I don't know, sometimes he doesn't really have as much faith, I'm not sure if he actually believes in God, right? So it was really up to me to seek out what resonated with me. So it's when I went to India and I visited the Dera, which is where like the center for this science of the soul path Radha-Swami path. When I visited my maternal grandparents who live there actually, and I listened to the teachings, I would attend satsang, I read the books. Nanaji used to volunteer at the bookstore there. because to live there, then you do volunteer work and then you live there for free. And it's just the most beautiful place. So Nanaji would volunteer at doing his seva, which is selfless service, it's called. I actually have a tattoo that says seva.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So he would bring home loads of books for me to read, and he just had many books, and he was very well read. He could read English, Urdu, Sanskrit, like very well read. Beautiful. And so he would give me different books, and I would just really, I would read kind of more of like the starter books, like the thinner ones. And when I would read the pages, I think I was around 20 or so, 2021. What I was reading, I just had that aha moment. Things just clicked. Like things just made sense. As a child, I would always question, what is the meaning of life? I would always question, why are we here? What is the purpose? Since childhood, I've been a seeker and I wanted answers. And when I was reading these pages, it just clicked. Oh, this is why we're here. Oh, that makes it just, you can't explain it. Like when people ask you, why do you believe this? You don't have a rational answer. Your soul just knows. It knows that is resonating, and it clicks and it makes sense. So when I was reading those pages, like I said, it's like what people call in today's day and age a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
So I had this awakening, and I was like, oh, wow, that's it. This is it. Everything makes sense. And ever since then, I was very much on that spiritual path as well. And the greatest lessons that having spiritual faith has given me has been just knowing the meaning of life, knowing why things are the way they are. You don't get so entangled in this physical plane. Like you just realize that all of this is not real. It's an illusion. Like none of this really matters at the end of the day. Yes, I am here to do what I'm doing, but I know that my true purpose is to reunite with the one, with God.
Yeah.
So that's my true purpose, is to go just really immerse myself on the spiritual path while still living my life, doing the things I need to do in this world, but I know the true meaning. And for me, it's not about this earth or this world. It's about breaking the cycle of reincarnation and reuniting with the one, God, the divine.
Yeah.
So that's what it. So that has, like I said, it puts things into perspective. You don't fret as much. You don't take things as seriously because you know the meaning, the purpose. At least this is what resonates with me. Everyone will have their own, beliefs and what makes sense to them. But for me, this has given me just a lot of relief and just having faith in God and knowing like everything happens for a reason. Also believing in the law of karma. Yeah. What I have sown is what I will reap. So whatever happens to me, I know it's happened because there's an effect for it's cause and effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if I've done something in a previous life, then there'll be an effect in this life. So again, that's given me a lot of comfort knowing that this is the true meaning. Yeah.
If anyone follows your Instagram, it's very clear that you promote a lot of vegan foods and you're vegan yourself. And I think at one of your previous panel talks, you might have mentioned that you've been vegan for over a decade now, or roughly a decade.
Yeah, that's correct.
So what inspired that journey and how has it affected your mental and physical well-being?
Oh, I love this question. I love this question because I'm so passionate about veganism. So veganism is a lifestyle. It's not just a diet. And that's why I mentioned earlier that I'm wearing like all vegan leather, from my shoes to my jumpsuit to my purse that I brought with me today.
Mm-hmm.
So all of it is vegan leather. And even my makeup, I'll always buy vegan and cruelty-free products. So that means that they don't have any animal ingredients. My perfumes are vegan. I don't buy a lot of the commercial perfumes, nor do I even test them because I know that they're not vegan friendly.
Right.
I actually go to a perfumery in Notting Hill, which is a vegan perfume brand.
Wow.
And that's where I get my perfumes from. It's called Eden. Eden, Eden Perfumes. They have their main store in Brighton, actually. They're originally from Brighton. And yeah, so veganism is a lifestyle. And what really prompted me to adopt a vegan lifestyle is when I moved to London, because I grew up mainly vegetarian. So my mom is vegetarian, my dad is a meat eater, and they both tried to influence me growing up. They both tried to kind of, and then as I was like 7, 8 or so, I just felt it didn't align with me. It didn't feel right to eat animals because I loved animals. I'm like, they're my friends in America. All my friends had like so many pets, from snakes to rabbits to this to that. So I grew up around a lot of animals, and I was like, they're just so intelligent. They're just so incredible. They're sentient. I just understood them. Like I understood animals. I could feel their emotions, their energy, and they're just full of love, and they're so innocent. So it didn't feel right to me to be eating a hamburger or pepperoni pizza in America, those, popular foods you eat as a kid growing up, hot dogs, all of that. It didn't feel right. It never quite like digested well. And there's some stuff I've never really tried, like fish and this and that. Like that was never really part of my diet. It was more of those like things. I wouldn't really eat meat at home. It was more like going out or kids' birthday parties and stuff. And so I gave up meat when I was a kid, and then I was vegetarian for most of my life. When I moved to London, that's when I started learning more about what veganism is. That's when I started looking into like the dairy industry, the leather industry. I realized we've been told a very different story than the reality. Like the reality is very different from the picture that's been painted about these industries. So they say that the leather industry is a byproduct of the meat industry. Nope, it's its own industry, and it's very, very cruel. Then you've got the dairy industry, and again, they paint that picture to be, cows lovingly grazing on the grass, green grass and lush fields, and this is what's been shown to us. This is the type of like adverts that we've seen, and all the like milk is good for you, milk is good for the body, all of that like is conditioning. And so it's when I started learning about veganism, when I moved to London, I started looking into these industries. I saw a lot of exposés from PETA on going into these farms and factory farms and looking into these industries, and the things they revealed, I was horrified. I was like, the dairy industry is actually even crueler than the meat industry. It's atrocious. And I highly recommend people to do your research. Know what you're consuming. It's okay if you want to consume it after you've seen, but like, let's not live in ignorance. Let's look at what it is and then make a choice from there. And if you're still okay, all good. But look into it. And it's very difficult to unsee what you've seen. So I saw these expose clips, and then I went vegan overnight.
Right.
I had, Louis Vuitton bags and wool coats, because wool is also not a vegan product. So anything that's taken from animals, so even honey is taken from the bees. That's something they produce for their own survival. Vegans don't consume any of that. So all the products that I had, leather, shoes, this and that, I just gave them all away to friends. There was like 2 leather designer bags I had that I sold, and then I bought vegan bags to replace them. And then everything else I just gave away to people, like gifted to friends or, charity. I'm not somebody who just throw things out either, so I'm always trying to be a bit more conscious of like conscious consumption.
Yeah.
And so that's what prompted me to become vegan. And it's the best decision I've made. So you asked, how has it impacted my mental and physical health? So firstly, I'm taking my power back. I'm choosing what's right for me. So that's a great source of empowerment, right? That's a form of me saying, this doesn't align with me and my values, so I'm not going to do it just 'cause. So that is empowering. So for my, just overall empowerment, the way I am, that has really contributed to that. And I would say also, imagine the animal does not want to be killed. The animal, nobody wants to die. And these animals are being killed for our bellies, for our vanity. And the fear that these animals feel right before they're going to be slaughtered, imagine that fear, imagine that pain, and then you're ingesting that energetically. I mean, that's not good for anybody. Mentally, energetically, physically, we are ingesting death and suffering and pain and fear. So I feel very clean, I feel energetically, spiritually clean, not ingesting these products. I feel empowered because I've made my own choice for myself, and I have not allowed myself to be brainwashed any longer by media, by these billion-dollar industries. So in that respect, and in terms of my physical health, I feel amazing. I feel lighter. I feel freer. Age empowerment. It impacts age empowerment, which is my niche as well, because it's like I'm having healthy, plant-based whole foods. I've cut down the processed foods. I've reduced my sugar consumption. I still love me some vegan desserts. Don't get me wrong.
I've seen your stories.
People have seen my stories, the diaries of a sugar addict. Okay, I will own it. Sugar is something I'm working on still. But I have very few vices. So let me have something.
We've all got something, I think.
Right? Let me have something. And they are still vegan. So it's like not, I don't think sugar's not good for you anyway. And, but yeah, so I've reduced sugar. And I really had the goal of eating more whole foods rather than processed foods. And I feel great. I feel stronger. I feel lighter. I feel more energized. So yeah,
Beautiful.
It helps in every way.
I mean, I guess that ties in nicely with the fact that you also quit alcohol 7 years ago.
Yes.
So what's the sober journey been like? And again, how has that affected your mental and physical health? Because I've seen that you go to parties sober.
Sober raves.
Yeah, sober raves.
Yeah. I went to one sober rave recently. And I mean, anytime I can still go out and dance and have the best time ever and be sober AF.
Love
right?
That. Love that.
And I will be like the first person on the dance floor, and I can be the last person on the dance floor as
Love
well.
that.
Like, and I don't need alcohol to do it. So alcohol is something that I had a rocky journey with, I'd say. I started drinking very young in America, and then in New Zealand, the culture is binge drinking. So I started binge drinking. There are a lot of experiences that I could have avoided had I not been, someone who would binge drink. But, and there were different choices I would have made. I think alcohol really does skew if you're drinking and to a point where you're kind of not as rational. You're not making decisions with clarity and responsibility. So yeah, as in university and stuff, definitely there was and that's just the culture there. Everybody was binge drinking, shots and drinking till you get drunk. There's not a thing of casual drinking. It's like drinking till you get drunk.
Blackout drunk.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. So when I lived in India, I was still drinking. There was a point where I started practicing yoga, and I got into yoga and I was practicing every single day.
Wow. And
I naturally felt like I wanted to leave alcohol. Also, I had put on a bit of weight from living in India, having all the parante, with ghee. And then I was vegetarian. I wasn't vegan. All the dahi, I'd even have pizza, so the Western food, everything. And I was drinking. And so I put on a little bit of weight and I started feeling quite uncomfortable in my body. And then doing yoga, getting into the gym, more cardio based at that time. It's only in recent years, well, in this decade that I've gotten into weightlifting, which is crucial for longevity, crucial for every person. But that time I was doing that. And so alcohol kind of felt like it was naturally, I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to get in shape. So I kind of started cutting it out in around 26. Okay. I started reducing it. And then I hardly drank, just a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Until I was 30. 30, I did a yoga teacher training course in Rishikesh. And then again, I was not drinking. It's only when I moved back to London that I got back into drinking. Because again, you've got a big drinking culture here.
Yeah.
So I wasn't drinking for a while. Then I got back into drinking here. Then I gave it up. Then I got back into it again. And then it became a problem for me because it was preventing my growth. I was drinking a couple nights a week. Then you spend the next couple days being hungover. Yeah. You make bad choices. You might pick fights with your loved ones or who you're going out drinking with or whatever. I was in a relationship. It caused drinking on both of our sides, just fueled our fights. It was just so negative in every way. There was not a single positive that was coming out of this. Yeah. And I wasn't progressing, and I'm a progress addict. I love to progress. I love to live my potential, and I wasn't living my potential. I wasn't anywhere near where I wanted to be in my life. By this point, I was approaching early to mid 30s, and I'm this is just not working for me. I had the one point which was the decision maker for me. That one pivotal point was when I had a big fat night out of drinking. And it was drinking the entire night long.
This is in London.
In London. Got in an explosive fight with my partner. Then I was working at an office at that time whilst I was building a business. A different business at that time. And I ended up missing my, sleeping through my alarm. I didn't hear it, was on silent. I ended up waking up halfway through. I was late for work. I woke up, I was still drunk.
Yeah.
I'm in my early to 30s here. I'm this is not a good look for me. What the hell am I doing with my life? Early to mid 30s range. I'm this is just that was it. I gave it up overnight. So as you can see, I have a habit of giving things up overnight.
Or going for things overnight as well.
Yeah, or going for things
overnight.
I decide I've got that conviction. I've got a good why. You've got to have a good why. I had a good why. I'm like, look at me self-sabotaging my life. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not moving forward. And gave it up overnight. 7 years, have never, ever regretted it. Cold turkey. Have never, ever felt like...
Beautiful.
The thought of alcohol now makes me feel sick. Like having a sip, I couldn't.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How do you deal with we still live in the UK. There's that social pressure. When you do go out and everything, and if people ask you, "Oh, do you want a shot or whatever?" How do you kind of deflect the pressure in a way? Because I think sometimes on a night where I don't want to drink, I'm kind of at that stage where you were between 26 and 30, where it's very rarely now. I used to drink quite a lot at uni. Crazy amount.
Yeah.
And the hangovers were and also I had put on weight as well. Because when you drink alcohol, obviously you eat loads hungover and then also beforehand to line your stomach. So I just gained so much weight. I was always quite thin growing up. And then at uni, alcohol and the food and everything made me gain weight. So as soon as I left uni, I had like a full-on year to myself. And in that year, there was just no need for me to drink because my parents don't drink at all. I grew up without alcohol until I went to uni. So that was kind of like rebellious or whatever. So there was no need to. And then also once I did quit for quite a long time, I found that I didn't really want it that much anymore. So it's probably once or twice a year I'll drink now. And I do see myself going completely sober, like eventually. Like, there are periods of times where... But what my question was, is that sometimes when I do... So I'm still social, I love to go out and everything and meet people and whatever. So when I'm with my friends and they're drinking and I'm not, I do get this little pressure of saying no. I'll say no, I'm not going to drink. But then like, oh, come on, you're being boring. Come on, Garima, come on, whatever. How do you kind of say it with confidence and conviction and not let anyone sway you?
I love this question. It's such an important question. It's about standing so firm in your decision, being so comfortable with that decision, having a very strong why. When you have that strong why, like nothing can shake it. When you know that it's doing me more harm than good, it's really sabotaging my progress, my life. It's making me feel really bad about myself. Yeah. It's really bad for mental health. Yep. If you're feeling low, imagine being hungover.
The hangover, depression, the anxiety.
You get anxiety. You can get bouts of depression as well. It's really bad for the mental health. So think of those whys. Then when you have those strong whys, that's conviction, right? When you've got that conviction, you become it's like a value. It's like if you have a value and you really believe in that value, you're confident, you know why, you build more resilience, you build more self-assurity about it. So people would never even dare ask me, try to question me or try, because I stand so firm in my values and my life choices. No one's going to be like, oh, just have a shot. They know, they can feel my energy. They can feel how seriously I take this and how nothing is going to sway me.
Love that.
And I don't also put myself in too many situations where, I go out to places where there's drinks, where people are getting drunk, absolutely. But I also find it like quite off-putting to be in a room full of drunk people. So I would prefer to go to events that are not just about getting smashed or whatever. Yeah. So I don't end up I wouldn't just go to a nightclub where people are getting drunk for the sake of it. No. If I were to go to any kind of night venue or club, it would be because I'm there for the live music. Yeah. I'm there to dance. I'm there because it's something special that I really want to experience. I wouldn't just go for the sake of it. I don't hang out at pubs because what do you do at a pub? You drink. Yeah. And that's just not my vibe. Yeah. So,
100%. I always say I'm a whore for deep conversation and deep chat and connecting with people. So that's why I actually don't club anymore. I don't enjoy it at all because I find that you can't really talk to people as much. And when you're at a bar or something, you can sit down and talk and whatever. And then there's not that too much pressure to drink because you can just get an orange juice or whatever it is. And it kind of looks like a vodka orange. Not that that matters again,
Yeah.
because when you're in your values, you shouldn't care what people think anyway.
Yeah. And I'm very proud of being alcohol free.
I love that.
I'm very proud. So if I'm holding a drink and people are like, oh, is that water? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah,
like,
I
you
do
know,
that as
I'm
well.
like, it absolutely is water.
Ooh.
And I love me some water.
Yeah, no, genuinely
Water is
love
like my
it.
favorite drink.
No,
so.
same. It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
Love
it is.
So you mentioned it as well before at the beginning. You are a very big advocate for embracing age, letting go of the fear of age, letting go of societal norms, that kind of thing. So first, before we get into, maybe like the steps that people can take to embrace age and actually get excited to grow up, where does your confidence with aging come from?
So it's come with age. Ironically, it's come with age. So it is that. It's like as you live your life, the more years you have on this planet, the more unapologetic you become, the less you care about what people think, the more self-assured you are, the more the more self-aware you've become, the more healing work you've done. So therefore, the more sorted you are, you've kind of made a little bit more progress in your career. You've got more skills, like everything grows and life becomes richer with age. It's not the lack, but again, it's your mindset. So that's like one of my key steps where we go very deep into is mindset. It's a mindset shift. You're only as old or young as you perceive yourself to be. So it's what you choose to focus on, right? That's what's going to grow and intensify. So I always encourage people to look at the positives that come with aging. Look at the wisdom, look at the life experience, look at the challenges you've overcome, look at how strong you are now. You're self-aware now. When I was in my 20s, I wasn't self-aware at all. All of those cycles of trauma I was repeating. I was living in my trauma. I was not self-aware enough to even know that I was traumatized. And then it's only in my 30s that I was still not that self-aware, but later in my 30s, I started becoming more self-aware. And then, I'm the problem. They're not the problem. That's not the problem. I'm the problem. Let me work on that. And then once I worked through those things, they were no longer an issue. So I did the inner work, the healing work, the therapy, all of that. So life just gets better with age.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proving it every day that I'm here. I'm proving it to myself.
And also to everyone else. I think that reflects outwardly as well. You can see it from your Instagram even. And obviously I know you in person as well. It just shines through in person as well.
Thank you.
It's
well,
beautiful.
that's the mesh.
Yeah, of course. So to everybody watching, what advice would you give to help them embrace age?
Oh man, I would say, well, basically the things that I just outlined. So it's the mindset shift. It's what you're focusing on. It's your gratitude. So being grateful for the blessings that age has given you. Not focusing on the lack, focusing on the abundance that you have now with age, right? So that's something. So in my age empowerment talks, which I've done for, as I said, many different brands, members clubs, so on and so forth, I go through a series of steps to help people reclaim their power and embrace their age. So we've got mindset. So we look at neuroplasticity, the power of that, how we have the ability to grow new neural pathways in our brain, looking at the importance of a growth mindset, continual learning, gratitude, the power of living in the present moment, focusing on the now, not worrying about, what you haven't done, the past things, the past so-called mistakes, or worrying about the future and what is to come and, what still are you going to achieve this by this age or that by that age. Focusing on the present moment and truly living in the now and embracing, we're so much happier when we live in the now. Right? Because if you live in the past, you're living in a state of depression. And if you live in the future, you're living in a state of anxiety. Yeah. If you live in the present, you're in a state of peace.
Yes.
So that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So then in my steps, we also look at the power of self-love. So celebrating all your wonderful, unique qualities.
Yeah.
We look at the power of authenticity. How can you rediscover your true self?
Yeah.
How can you find out who are you? What are your values? What do you stand for? Instead of this set formula for life that by this age you need to have these boxes ticked, you create your own list. You realize, actually, what do I want? What's coming from me and what's coming from social expectations. Then you can differentiate them and you can get rid of those that don't serve you, that are only causing you stress and anxiety, and you focus on what you truly want. And then we look at self-care, right? Because age empowerment is about looking after yourself. It's about what you put in your body, your nutrition. It's about how you look after and move your body, how you sleep, how you hydrate yourself. It's about spending time in nature, all of that. And then we look at the company that you keep. So the people in your life, which will have a profound impact on your life, what you achieve, what you don't achieve, your mental health, all of that.
It's so important. And I think you've got a talk coming up, don't you, about this as well in January?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. So we look at language around
Language.
the language we use around aging as well. That's a really key
yeah.
step. So I have a talk coming up, which is organized by Outlet 10 Health, and they're a mental health organization. So they booked me to speak at this event, and it's all about age empowerment. It's called Rise and Thrive, and it's a New Year self-empowerment workshop. So people can book on Eventbrite. I've got a link in my bio where they can book. It's very, very affordable. We wanted it to be something that was going to be open and within reach for everybody, so everyone can start their year off right. You know, we can fit loads of people. It's in a cinema type space room in a really cool place in East London. And we're going to be going through all the steps during this workshop. So that's on 18th of Jan from 12 to 3 p.m. The workshop is going to be 2 hours, very interactive. There'll be journaling, there'll be sharing, some partner work, and then we'll also be having an hour where people can have some tea, some coffee, and really connect with each other. So a bit of networking and building meaningful connections with people you meet on the day.
So at I think one of your panel talks in the past, you've mentioned that you're single. How are you sort of navigating single life in your 40s?
Oh, I love it. It's the best thing. It's literally the best thing. I went from I've only ever had 2 serious long-term relationships.
When were they?
So one was from 25 to 28-ish. And then I had another serious relationship from 30 till a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So I had like 2 serious long-term relationships. And then after the last one, which was almost 9 years.
Wow.
When you're in a really long-term relationship, one where it might not be the right relationship for both of you, you end up losing yourself. Yeah. You forget who you really are. So when we broke up, I moved out on my own for the first time in my life.
Wow.
This was like 2 years ago or so.
Wow.
So I moved out on my own, and first time I'm living on my own, it was not easy. It was pretty lonely because I lived with my parents, then my grandparents, then I skipped the part that I got married and divorced in India.
No, did you?
Yeah, so that was the long-term relationship. So we met at 25. We were kind of semi-separated, not officially separated, semi-separated by like 28. I kept waiting around for us to get back together till about 30. Realized we're not going to get back together. Then I traveled. I met someone here, moved back here, got into this serious relationship. And so I lived, with my husband and in-laws in a joint family, then back with my grandparents.
Oh my God.
Then was staying with a friend of mine here, then met someone, him and I moved in together very quickly.
No.
So literally I've never lived on my own properly. And this was the first experience. So it was very lonely and I had to get very comfortable with just being on my own. Just me, myself, and I.
Physically and emotionally.
Physically and emotionally. Just me, myself, and I. And it was a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be because I'm someone who I love my own space. I love my alone time.
Yeah.
But being alone made me realize you're so much more social than, like, you forgot, like, you're such a social butterfly.
Yeah.
And we're humans are social creatures. And I really am as well. Like, and I forgot that part of me. I really did. And so then it started making me realize that I started rediscovering myself. Being alone, being just with me, I started healing. I started finding myself again, remembering who the hell I am.
Yes.
And it was such a process of like coming back home to myself. So that time on my own, I needed that on my own. And I was not open to dating. I was not open to meeting men. I was not open to anything beyond a platonic friendship with a male. That was the max, very max.
Yeah.
I was like a male repellent because I was so not interested in meeting any guy that it's like, when you kind of give off that energy, like, don't effing talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, anytime I'd go out anywhere, Soho House, anywhere, I was wearing that natural repellent.
Just for the girls everywhere, just talking to girls.
Just talking to girls. I really had no interest in exploring any connections with men. And that was so healthy and it was so healing because I just had this time to focus on myself. Just put myself first, focus on me. It was tough though because my ex and I we both still had that codependency from being in a long-term relationship. So, like to fight those urges, we never wanted to get back together, but we'd still be codependent upon each other when it comes to relying on each other, reaching out, wanting to meet, wanting company, chatting. It was very platonic, like a family bond, but it was still a codependent, unhealthy thing. So now, how did we break down that codependency? It came from like kind of just not meeting and not speaking for a while. That was initiated by my ex because I think he was just kind of fed up with this codependent connection that we had. And he knew that neither of us were going to move forward with our lives if we were like just always relying on each other. So he kind of just took a step back and it was like 6 months we hardly met or talked.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing we could have done because it really helped us to break down that codependence.
Yeah.
And I then I'd always, like, if I needed help or I had an idea, he'd be the first person I'd call, the first person I'd go to. And then I started just asking myself the questions and finding the answers within. And not needing to seek kind of, support or emotional support or whatever from somebody else.
Yeah.
It was coming from me. So that was really powerful. And I'm so grateful that he did take a step back in that time because now we have a much healthier balance as family. Like we're family, we're friends. We have a much healthier balance. We talk every so often. We meet every so often. We don't have that codependency, but we know that if push comes to shove, the other's got your back. You know, you're never going to be without anything. Like if you need anything, we're still there for each other. So that's beautiful as well, that we could part ways in such a loving, mature manner.
Yeah.
And as Gwyneth Paltrow, famously, I don't know if she coined the term, maybe she did, but this conscious uncoupling. So we were able to consciously uncouple, and that was one of the best things, because now look, we were together for almost a decade, and instead of losing this person from my, like, you know, those 9 years were for nothing, instead of that, I've got a family member for life, and he's my only family in London, you know? So it's a really special bond, and I'm very grateful for that. And that could have only come through, like I said, having that time apart.
Yep.
Having to really rely on myself, and it gave me so much independence. It gave me so much more confidence. I'm learning to stand on my own 2 feet and, you know, not rush off to somebody for advice or support. I got my back. I've got my own back. I know the answers. I can help myself. It's made me so much stronger. And it's made me fall back in love with myself. Firstly, remembering who I am and falling back in love with myself. So now I'm at a point in my life where I feel so whole. I've done so much healing work. I feel so full, like my cup is so full. I'm so fulfilled in having my life purpose, and what I do for a living fills me with so much joy. Like, this is like gives me so much life and happiness, and I feel so full that now I'm a bit more open. And if somebody comes into my life and they're there to enhance it and I'm there to enhance theirs, we're not there to complete each other. We're not there to fill each other's cups. We're just there to enhance one another's lives. If that person comes into my life at some point, I would be more open to it now, having had the 2 years to just be on my own, work on myself, work on my, you know, work on my healing, my emotional patterns, my mental health, all of that.
Yeah.
So,
That is beautiful.
And it's really important that we don't seek anything from anyone else.
100%. I was actually going to make a TikTok about that in the next coming days. I really want people to stop getting into relationships if you're not full inside.
Yes.
Because you're just going to come from a place of lack. And not only is that harming yourself because you're kind of seeking validation or love from outside rather than from inside, you're going to make a poor choice in the partner that you make because it's not coming from aligned values or that kind of thing, but it's coming from, I want someone there and I want, you know,
I need this person.
I need that person.
I need someone to make me happy.
Exactly. But you're also affecting the other person negatively because, again, you're not a full whole for that person. And if, do you know what I mean? It's not healthy.
Yeah.
So it's very important for everybody to spend time. I've actually made a podcast episode about this myself, like a solo episode, where I talk about the importance of spending time alone, completely in solitude. Obviously not for too long because that can get a bit unhealthy. But it's very important, like you said, to know who you are inside. You have all the answers within you, like you said, to have a deep sense of self-love so that you don't settle for anything less.
Yes.
And you know your worth.
You know your worth. This is huge. Knowing your worth. When you know your worth, you will not settle for less.
No.
And you will attract people who are at that level.
Yes.
So if you are like in your mind, oh, I love myself, I am full, I am whole, and you genuinely are vibrationally in alignment with that energy, that person will come along who's matching that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Of course, always. It always happens. Like it's a guarantee. Yeah. And I think now I think you're probably at that stage as well where we both aren't as easily impressed. Yeah. By just anything with a guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Because we know that we can give ourselves so much love, so much abundance. We're so full inside that a guy needs to really enhance our life or match that energy at the very least.
Absolutely.
It's very, very important.
100%. So spending this time alone has been invaluable. And even if I were to meet somebody, and like I said, if I'm at a stage now where I'm a bit more open to getting to know men, it's not like I'm not necessarily looking to settle down right now because I'm still on this journey of building myself, building my career, etc. But even if I were to meet somebody, another thing I would love to share, especially with women, is you don't have to be physically intimate with somebody. If you want to get to know somebody, you can get to know somebody. So if I meet somebody, I'm going to make it very clear that we can get to know each other, we can be friends, we can talk, but I am not going to be physically intimate with anybody unless we get to a point where I see them as a long-term serious partner.
Yeah.
Like if I know that they have potential or they're going to be a long-term partner, a life partner, that's the only way that would occur. I'm very, very, very happy abstaining from sex.
Yeah.
I'm very, very happy practicing abstinence. And it's not something that I made a conscious decision about. I didn't just decide this is what I'm going to do. It just naturally is where I'm at this stage in my life. I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, it's not even an option.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not about casual dating, casual sex. I'm not about that life. It's, for me, at 41, I'm very much about, this is a sacred act. This is an act that would only ever be for me.
Yeah.
That I would only engage in with somebody who, you know, we're going to then be together. This is a serious partnership. Otherwise, for me, I don't see, there's no purpose. There's no purpose for me. And I really want to encourage women of all ages to make that decision for yourself.
Yeah.
Because I know when I was at uni, there were times where, you know, that whole binge drinking culture where you're pressured to do things that you don't really want to do. But there's so much social pressure and expectation when something is a social norm in a society. It's so difficult to just stand up against it, like a bit like the alcohol, like you said, or even maybe being vegan or whatever it may be, or not getting married by a certain age, or, you know, maybe you don't want to have kids, but you feel the pressure to have kids.
Yeah.
All these things are social pressures, and so is having sex. That's a social pressure. I encourage all women, take your power back and make the choice for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't have to engage in anything you don't want to engage in. So go within, figure out, what do you want? What feels right with you? And if something doesn't feel right, it's a no.
No.
It's a no. And the more you practice staying true to your values, the easier it becomes. Like I said, the stronger why you have, the more conviction you have, the more confidence you will gain. And then you'll stand very confident in that decision. So if somebody, you know, if you're in a situation where somebody is like, oh, but what about sex? You know, we've been seeing each other. No, I'm good. Like, this is not for me right now. This is not where I'm at in my life. And then you'll feel confident they'll have to respect your decision.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then they're not for you.
Yeah. And you just, like you said, when you do have that confidence within yourself, you don't get swayed. You don't get guilt tripped.
Yeah.
Like, you're so strong and never ever feel guilt tripped or anything like that.
Exactly.
Ever, please.
Exactly.
Because you will just regret it and just no. But, I mean, you mentioned at the beginning that, you know, you're a motivational speaker. What would you say is the one sole advice that you'd give to someone in life for overcoming obstacles?
I love this question. And for me, it would have to be working on your mindset. It's all a choice. We have the choice to dwell on a challenge, be consumed by that challenge, let it devour us, let it ruin our lives, or we can look at that challenge and be like, this is something I have the power to overcome.
Yeah.
So it's a mindset shift, or look at that challenge and be like, see how you can transmute that challenge. How can you turn that from something difficult and challenging into something empowering? It's like turning your pain into purpose.
Yeah.
So it's all a mindset shift. we create our reality by our thoughts, right? Our thoughts become our words become our actions, and our actions will create our reality.
Yeah.
So it all starts with the mind. If you change your thoughts, you will change your life.
Yeah. It's as simple as that, right?
Absolutely.
And obviously, but changing that mindset is what kind of, that takes the time and the...
That takes the time, it takes repetition,
Yeah.
it takes practice. But neuroscientists have shown that through the power of neuroplasticity, we can grow new neural pathways, right? So this means we can change our whole perception of ourselves, of the world. It's repetition. It's consistency. So neuroscientists have shared that it takes 25 to 30 days to build a new neural pathway in our brain.
Wow.
So if you every day say something to yourself that you want to change, something positive, like, you know, I am capable of achieving, I am so capable of becoming a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
This is what I was born to do.
Yeah.
And you say that affirmation daily in the first 20 minutes when you wake up, when your brain is in a theta state and it's a bit more impressionable.
Yeah.
You say that to yourself. You visualize yourself being that. And then after about a month or so of that repetition, day in and day out, every single morning, you can manifest that. So there's a lot, our mind is so powerful. And unfortunately, our mind turns into our enemy when really it should be our best friend. It should be our support system.
Yeah.
It should aid our growth, not prevent it, not limit it.
And I think, I mean, that kind of nicely ties us into the fact that you've got a mentorship program, which I'm sure you speak and work on this sort of stuff and your mindset and that kind of thing as well. What is the aim with this mentorship program? I know people can have one-to-ones with you. What do you want people to gain out of it?
So it's very bespoke. Anyone who's interested in one-to-one mentoring, they are really ready to change their lives. They're ready to commit to personal transformation. They're ready to level up. They're ready to unlock their potential.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready, it's not for you because it's a commitment. It's an investment. So you've got to be ready to show up, do the work on yourself. And my favorite clients are, and the only ones I would take on anyway, are those that are so hungry and passionate for that personal transformation. And then by the end of, let's say, 4 months of working together, they're a whole new version of themselves. They've got a whole new, let's say, purpose in life or whatever. So I have different programs and it's all bespoke and customized based on what people require. So if it's finding your purpose and then turning that into your profession or a personal brand, or it could be building more confidence, it could be so many different areas of one's life, becoming more, you know, of a manifesting magnet, just building more self-love. A lot of my clients, we look at everything. It's kind of like every time we meet, we will discuss what they need at that time. What do they need to work on at that time?
That's powerful.
So one of my clients wants to find her purpose and turn that into her profession or personal brand. And we spent one session focusing on a financial abundance mindset because that was limiting her from really pursuing her purpose. Even though we've been discovering it together and she's aware of what her purpose is, but then the limiting beliefs are like, oh, well, I can't make money doing that. So then we spent one session really looking at building a financial abundance mindset and then giving her journal prompts to do and exercises to do in the meantime, like keep continuing to do those day by day. So then the next time we meet, you know, we can see how she's going with that.
Yeah.
And then we can continue to carve, like to gain more clarity around her purpose and see how she can further dive into that. So that's one client. Then, you know, I have different clients who all have very bespoke needs, and we tackle all of those together. And then, as I said, I have a personal growth membership, which is a subscription service. So this is like, the mentorship is more of an investment. The membership is very accessible. It's a lower price point, and it's a group of people. We do group virtual masterclasses. It's a private group where, you get motivational messages, gratitude prompts, all of that. And then I do my motivational talks, my workshops. So I work with a lot of, brands, as I said before. I love delivering in-person talks. I think that's really it just lights me up. So,
and I think you put that effect on us as well as people who come to listen to you speak. You just bring that energy onto us, and it's just the most beautiful thing.
Thank you.
And what I love about your mentorship program is the fact that, yes, you have these one-to-ones, but you also give your clients homework to do in the meantime.
Yes.
So it's like an ongoing, constant thing in their life, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and they can check in with me as well. So
That's
on
gorgeous.
WhatsApp. So they've got access to me if they want to check in. If they want to ask any follow-up questions, they can do that as well.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming onto my podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been a delight to chat with you. And I'm so grateful that you've been attending my workshops and benefiting from them. It means the world to have you there. And yeah, it's just been an absolute pleasure.
No, genuinely, I'm so grateful to know you. I think when I first met you back in August at the South Asian Heritage Month, I think you can just see that glow in your face physically. And you just emit this light. And I would just describe, I'd say your love, your light, you radiate so much positivity. And I want to say thank you on behalf of everybody who follows you and, who know you. Thank you so much for being that good source of energy. And you're so motivating and supportive and kind and caring and so considerate. And it's just so powerful how you've gone through so much, you've gone through hardship and stuff in your life, and you've turned that around. You've not had any sort of victim mindset. You're a go-getter, and you've completely transformed your life, and you're just so inspiring. And you guys, you need to go to one of her talks, because the way that I feel, I think you can physically see it in my vlogs, right? I'm glowing at the end. Because there's this energy in the room. I can't describe it. It's just so powerful, and I'm so grateful for you. And thank you so much for coming on. Genuinely.
Thank you. I really appreciate, honestly, your words really touched my heart, and I'm very, very grateful. So thank you for that. And yeah, if anybody else wants to get in touch with me, they can follow me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram. I'm posting stories every single day, almost without fail. I do a lot of posts on there as well. So it's at moon.onyx, which is Onyx, and then .star with a double R. So that's my handle. And then also, if they want to, someone's not on Instagram, then you can email me, which is moon@moononyxstar.com. That's my email. I'm on LinkedIn, Moon Onyx Starr, and I have my website as well. My website's not updated, but still have that there. And that's how if people want to join the membership, they go onto my website and they can join the membership there, or they can look at my mentoring programs on my website as well, which is just moononyxstar.com. In the future, part of my plan is to write a book for sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that will be on the cards. And yeah, I'm just super open to collaborating, super open to whatever opportunities the universe delivers. I'm just in my magnetic, let's go, let's manifest, let's glow up, let's grow, let's live our best lives. I'm just in that frequency and energy of let's go.
Beautiful.
Right? So anything and everything is possible.
Oh, amazing.
Live in that limitless energy and you will be limitless. Because we are limitless. We just have forgotten.
That is a beautiful way to end this, honestly. Thank you so much. But yeah, I will link absolutely everything in the description. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.